everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. I'm the founder of Ashes to Beauty Ministries, and today I'm answering another question that I got off of Quora. Somebody asked me the question, what would happen if would a narcissist ever purposefully terrify their victim? Would that actually be a sign that you're dealing with a narcissist? And so if you have been watching this channel, or if you know anything about narcissism, I've kind of covered this before, but the true definition of narcissism, like to be diagnosed with NPD, it's part of the cluster B personality disorders. And so often you're going to have a narcissist that is also something else. Either antisocial personality disorder or a psychopath. There's another diagnosis that goes along with the NPD. That's why it's called a cluster. There's some other issues that are going on. So first of all, that's standard. So I hate to say, like, would a narcissist do that, because it may or may not be a trait of a narcissist, but if you're dealing with somebody who has the other clusters associated with their personality disorder, then yes, it could be. So let's get away from like diagnosing people, which I encourage you to not try to diagnose people. You aren't a specialist. You aren't the person who has the qualifications to be able to do that. But I do want you to be aware of the red flags and to not be afraid to say this person has narcissistic traits, because these are the traits that a narcissist exhibits. You should also look into cluster B personality disorders and what the other ones are, and if the person that you're specifically dealing with has some of those traits as well, because more important or more pressing would be if you're dealing with somebody who's further along on the scale, like they are what we used to call a sociopath, which is now called antisocial personality disorder, or somebody who is a psychopath. You want to know what you are dealing with. You don't want to ignore the red flags. You know, that's how a lot of us get into the situation that we're in, where we're trying to find recovery from that type of abuse, right? So that being said, yes, that all being said, yes, it would be something that a narcissist, especially somebody who's further along on the spectrum of narcissism, who is ranging towards the antisocial personality disorder or psychopathology diagnoses, would do. Unfortunately, this is something that they would do, and this has to do with two things. One, again, narcissists love control, and so they want to be able to control you. And sometimes it's an intimidation factor of like you thinking that you can't leave the narcissist. So it definitely depends on what you're talking about in terms of what they did that terrified you. But for example, if they did something to an animal in front of you, first of all, that's definitely a red flag for antisocial personality disorder. And that kind of thing is meant to intimidate you into thinking that you can't leave, into thinking that something like that could happen to you, that they have no limits or boundaries as to what they will do in order to get what they want and to keep you where they want you to be, which all of that is true, by the way. So again, do not ignore the red flags, pay attention to them. But also, I mean, again, it depends on what the situation was that they did to terrify you. So control is one. The other thing is about how much control they have over you and the way that you respond in terms of your emotions and your mental capabilities. So sometimes they'll do things to terrify you just so that they have more control. Like they know that they can terrify you emotionally. They know that they can terrify you mentally. Maybe they're not doing it so that you physically don't leave, or you physically do something to get out of their control over you, but it could be just that they want more territory, if you will, in your soul realm, your mind, your will, and your emotions. So as I was reading her question that I was asked on Quora, somebody had responded and said, this happened to me. My ex-husband had locked the car doors, and then he started driving all frantically around, and she was very terrified, and she was holding on to the handle and the door, you know, and she was yelling, telling him to stop. And then she was recognizing that he was getting so much pleasure from, he was laughing, he was getting pleasure from her reaction, not just the fact that he was driving like a maniac, which definitely, if your borderline personality disorder is also on the cluster B personalities. So if you have very high, very lows, that kind of thing, bipolar disorder as well is part of the cluster B. So you need to look into those other disorders, as I said. But if they have that mania where they are getting a high from doing something like this, then that's number one. But it's going to feed the narcissism by recognizing that this is also having an effect on the way that you're reacting. So when she saw that he was laughing, she felt like he was laughing and getting his energy from the way that she was responding. So she stopped responding, she stopped yelling, she stopped hanging on to the door, stopped hanging on to the handle, and just sat calmly and started going through her phone and like responding to messages or whatever, looking at social media. And he got so angry at her. He got so angry that he could not terrify her. He tried driving more and more crazy, and she just, you know, continued to be in her own little bubble. And that's exactly like the kind of thing where I'm telling you, you need to be able to draw a line between what the narcissist has of you that they are able to reach, especially in situations where you cannot leave the narcissist. There's, for one reason or another, you're unable to leave at this point in time. You need to make sure that you recognize there's areas of your life that you've handed over to the narcissist. This woman who gave this example, she could have said, well, like, it's not my fault. He's driving this way. Of course I'm going to respond that way. She could have made excuses for continuing to feed the narcissist and to feed and allow him to have her energy, her thoughts, her emotions, and all of that to continue to control her. But in that moment, even though that was a very scary situation, and again, the word terrifying is the word that she uses. So while she was terrified, she stopped giving the narcissist energy. She just stopped doing those things. And the narcissist then was upset that he didn't get the energy and eventually went back to driving normal. And then he, by the way, tried to do the love bombing phase. So recognizing what you are in control of, instead of making excuses for why she was feeling this way. Of course, anybody would feel that way, right? But this woman did not make excuses for why, or allow herself to give herself reasons for why she was feeling that way. She just said, I'm not doing it. I see that I'm feeding into the cycle, and I can control when I feed into the cycle and when I don't, and I'm cutting it off right now in this very scary moment. So she took control over her emotions, she took control over her will and control over her thoughts, and did the opposite of what was feeding the narcissist. And that's how she ended up getting out of that situation. You know, the car and the vehicle, driving all crazy with her ex-husband. So this kind of thing is what you need to have control over. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to think that we can, and I did a video about this a few weeks ago, like self-care while you're with the narcissist. Sometimes it's easy to think, oh, I have to have this perfect environment before I can heal, before I can start taking back my identity, before I can find my purpose, you know, all that kind of stuff. But it's actually not true. If you change your mind, you change the way that you're thinking about the situation, you can actually change the situation. Your external world will follow when you get control of your internal world. So like this woman was just like, nope, I see what I'm doing. And she wasn't justifying the narcissist behavior. She just recognized, like, hey, I can't control what he does. What I can control is how much energy I feed him. And so right now I'm stopping that. He doesn't have any more control over my emotions, my mind, or my will. I'm just going to sit here and go back into my safe place. This place that the narcissist cannot reach, this place that I refuse to give up control to him through, and she was able to really start practicing and utilizing her soul power in this moment. She was able to really like going to the gym, you need to exercise these muscles. If you don't use them, if you're continuously giving up your power, giving up your thoughts, giving up your will, giving your emotions over to the narcissist whim, like whatever the narcissist wants, and then like if they say something mean to you, if they do something to you, then you're all in a tizzy about it. Well, this is what's going to happen. You're going to continue to feed them, and they're going to continue to do the same things that you don't want them to do. But you have to recognize you're part of that cycle. You know, I did a video a little while ago about the drama triangle. You need to recognize where you are in that drama triangle and how to move away from that into the empowerment triangle, because you want to be eventually all three of those things. You need to recognize that you are the creator. So if you take the situation that you have with the narcissist, they're terrifying you. How can you move from the victim, somebody who is being victimized, somebody who is being terrorized, into the creator of the situation? You need to look at it that way. You were created to create. So how do you do that? And a lot of times we think like, oh, I need to get away from the narcissist and build this new life. And you might need to do those things. But in that moment, what can you do? You can shut off the access that the narcissist has to your mind, your will, and your emotions. Get the narcissist out of your soul. Stop giving them the power. You need to learn how to control that. You are in complete control of that. That's part of you. The narcissist can only control and have impact on what you allow. So get into the habit of utilizing your soul power. Learn how to do that. Learn how to get control over your thoughts, over your emotions, over your will, and stop feeding the narcissist. Stop feeding them, and they will stop doing what they're doing. They're going to recognize sooner or later, like, that isn't going to work. Yet they may up their tactics and what they're trying to use against you. They may do more and more things to escalate the situation at first, because they're trying to find like, where is that weak spot? But if they go all around and see that there is no weak spot, they're going to find a different supply. Okay, and that again will give you the time that you need to get away or get out of the situation with the narcissist. And again, that's only if you want to. If you think like, nope, this is my lot in life, this is just the way that that the cards played out for me, this is God's will for me, then again, that has to do with your soul power, your mind, your will, and your emotions. So if your thoughts are going that way, if your will is made up and it's bent that way, then that's what you're going to get. Again, this all has to do with what part of your soul you give up into being influenced by other people, by outside entities. So I hope this video helps you understand a little bit, first of all, about, do narcissists terrorize people? Can they terrorize people? Yes, of course they can. But more importantly, I would really start, when it gets into that realm of things, I would really start looking into the other red flags of different cluster B personality disorder traits, because you do not want to, narcissists are dangerous already. You do not want to be messing around with somebody who also has some of these other issues, like I was just mentioning at the beginning of this video. So number one, I hope that was answered during this video. And number two, I hope it was also, I also hope that I showed you how you can take control over what to do when the narcissist is trying to terrorize you. Now again, if there's physical elements in there, you need to get out. Like and I've done videos on this many times, there's no other action. There is no other course of action. You need to leave. You need to get out of that situation. I don't care what it costs you in terms of money or time or whatever else. You need to get your kids, if you have kids, and get out of that situation. That's it. That's all you need to do. And so that's a separate thing. But if this kind of terrorizing is happening in your mind, you know, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, that kind of thing, then you need to recognize there's an entry point there into your soul realm through the narcissist through your soul, because those are the areas that he's able to control. So So I hope that also kind of gave you an idea of how to take back your power, become the creator in that triangle that you're in, and stop being the victim. Again, everything will respond. Your outer world will respond once you have made up your mind about what you want your inner life to be comprised of. When you start creating your inner world, your outer world will follow suit. If your outer world is filled with chaos and craziness, take a look at what's going on in the internal world. What are you mostly thinking about during the day? What kind of emotions do you mostly feel during the day? What kind of decisions are you making? Where is your will already made up that maybe it needs to have a look at to see if that decision was actually the right decision or the best decision, or if there's another possible alternative. So again, hope this video helped you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below, turn on the bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel, and I'll see you next time.